Yeah, how's it been going? Yeah.
Yeah, good man. Like I don't know about you, but just with the fact the clocks are going forward in like 2 weeks, just life is going to change for me. I don't know. I feel like January I was quite good at being like, right, new year, let's just power through. Weather shit, dark at 4, whatever. But February I was just like, oh my god, it's just yeah. I think I hate it more and more as the years go on. That kind of January February time. So yeah, I feel good that like yeah, we're starting to get into that. And yeah, mockumentary's coming along, and like works freelance work's been fairly busy, which is nice. It's not always the case. So like, yeah, it's been good, man. But yeah, how's the start of your year been? You seem to have been quite busy with like some cool events and stuff.
Yeah, it's going all right. Yeah, kind of steady away. Had a bit of an event. Um, but yeah, kind of building up into like festival season's become a thing for me again now because
Yeah,
can kind of blag a few media passes to stuff.
that's pretty cool. What have you got lined up?
All being well, like truck festival. I think I'm gonna go for like a
Yeah,
day or so. Then there's Leeds.
yeah,
Kirk's Abbey are putting on a few gigs.
awesome.
So I'm gonna go to a couple of them hopefully. But yeah,
Yeah,
all being like I say, all being well anyway.
yes, yeah, yeah. That's pretty good though. Yeah, definitely a nice, well-deserved perk of from all the hard work to get some free gigs. That's pretty sick. Yeah. Is
Yeah,
that
well, yeah,
is the expectation that you've then got to do some reviews and stuff and write up
yeah. I
stuff?
was gonna say the idea is that I think maybe get some people playing at the festivals on the pod, and then
Mm,
do some kind of like vlog or review or something.
yeah,
Maybe interview some people when we're there. But
yeah,
it
okay,
happens. Yeah.
yeah, sounds cool, man. It's nice, like stepping into a new like part of that kind of armor for podcasts. Like, yeah,
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. Just try and enjoy it really. See what happens.
yeah, 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 definitely.
But yeah, cheers for jumping on. Obviously, get a bit of context for people listening.
Yes,
Um, you got in touch with me. I don't even know when it was now. Was it beginning of the year?
yeah, I think so. Yeah, must have been early January. Yeah,
Regarding making a mockumentary about this like noughties indie scene. But I mean, what's your story like from, you've got a pilot that you sent me for the mockumentary and stuff, but there's clearly
yeah,
a bit of history in the band
100%.
from the footage. So
Completely.
where
Yeah,
did it
yeah.
all start?
So I grew up in Wimbledon in southwest London, and moved to Camden when I was 18, probably sort of like start of 2007, so sort of like back end of like yeah, indie. I mean it's still kind of around, but certainly where the mockumentary like focuses is more kind of 2001 to 2006. But yeah, it was just really like obviously like amazing being part of that scene, and did a lot of solo acoustic stuff that never really went anywhere, but it was good fun and that sort of thing. And yeah, like so I do freelance music now, kind of mixture of band stuff, and then because I went to uni and studied classical music, I now do a lot of film orchestration. So I sort of help film composers translate their score into sheet music and that kind of stuff. So two very very different worlds really. Yeah, I always feel a bit of a fraud doing that, even though I'm not. But it's just because in my head I'm still that sort of indie kid. And but yeah, so doing that, and then yeah, lockdown hit, and with everyone, just started. Thought I'd do something new. I'd always wanted to do sort of screenwriting and that sort of thing, and just wrote a lot over the sort of 2 years. And this mockumentary was one of them, really. This kind of idea of like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess just that they say write what you know, obviously, and was sort of like, oh, and I guess probably as we all are pining after that just sweeter times where like bands were still a thing, and like I mean it's not, I guess it's kind of coming back a bit, but like the guitar scene kind of died really, and um after that, which is weird. I think it was weird growing up and sort of having this framework for this is how the industry works. Guitar bands have been big since the 50s or whatever, 50s, 60s. And then I think I must have been, yeah, 17 when Arctic Monkeys got to number one, with Bet You Look Good on Dance Floor, and the whole thing changed, and it was like, whoa, this is kind of crazy, and it feels like, yeah, I don't know, it sort of was interesting to be like, okay, well, what if you did a mockumentary where it's centered around Camden and what happened there, but it was based around this band who nearly made it and then didn't quite, and it's them 20 years on looking back, like. Yeah, and the way it's interesting, the way I wrote it was like, obviously when you write something, you don't generally think about production. You just think, oh, it will all go through, and we'll just be able to do whatever the hell we want. So the kind of original idea was to genuinely make it feel like an authentic indie documentary and try and interview real bands, but the sort of spine of the thing is this fake band called The Storm, who didn't quite make it, and I love that kind of blurring of the what's true and what's not. And yeah, I mean, obviously Spinal Tap is huge inspiration, and I've always been kind of marketing as like this is Spinal Tap for a new generation. But yeah, so it kind of came out of that, and so I then filmed a 20-minute pilot around this time. So this was like 2022, I think, and I think it was just out of the ignorance really of never having done this before, and thought, oh yeah, I'll just make a pilot, and which is like, I don't know, I think there's something quite nice about that. And I managed to get into some cool locations like the Hawley Arms pub on Camden High Street, or just off, which is so integral in that scene. They let me film there and were really cool about me doing talking heads. And and then lockdown lifted, nothing really happened with it. And then the next 4 years, and then I randomly started doing stand-up comedy, and did that for 4 years, which really helped the writing, and the writing helped the stand-up comedy. So that was a really nice thing. And then like last summer, started writing again, having focused more on stand-up, started doing screenwriting stuff, and was doing a few read-throughs with friends of some new stuff I'd written. And then as part of that, I thought, oh, I'll show them this pilot that I made, because why not? No one's seen it. And that was the one thing that people were just like, this is great, you should definitely do something with this. And then just before Christmas, met a director of photography who was he's amazing, and he loves this scene, and he's really up for doing it. And so then it was kind of like back on the cards really, like doing this project. And we're shooting this time next week. That's our first shoot day, so it's like, feels kind of mad. I feel like I've been talking a long time. Interject. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah.
Oh, that's mad though. So you actually start filming it then.
Yeah.
That's
So
cool.
so I felt sort of over Christmas. Originally, I'd written it as 6 30-minute episodes, and usually when you write a show, you'll just write the pilot, and then if a miracle happens and a production company take it on, then you'd write the rest. But kind of just to get my writing chops up, and also because I was fascinated by this story, that I was like, I want to know what happened, so I want to finish it. And so originally, like I said, like 6 30-minute episodes, and then over Christmas I sort of whittled it down to try and make them into 10-15-minute episodes, because I thought that was more manageable. And again, just sort of fell in love with the story again, and was like, okay, obviously, like I said, originally the idea was interviewing real bands was a big part of this, which potentially we could still do, but there was something about the story that was like, even if that does fall on its face and we can't interview anyone, I still think there's a really exciting story here, and a really nice way of celebrating like a really beautiful time period really. And it's been so fun, like I've been writing the Storms like songs, and writing these comedy songs, and tapping into that, and just listening to tons of old school indie, and using your podcast obviously as like major research. It's so fun and so helpful. And and then the last 3 months really has been like, casting has been a really big thing. We've got one more person to cast, but the pretty much 8 out of 9 of the main cast, like we've cast a band now, which was always the hardest thing, because it needed to be someone who could act, had some comic timing, and could also play an instrument, and didn't mind working for free, because we don't really have a budget. And so that's been amazing. Now we got it, and then now it's like locations, and I did a rewrite on the scripts, because a friend of mine's a producer, so she was like, cool, I'll have a look at that, and had some like really great suggestions, because obviously you're so tunnel visioned in your head, aren't you? And I think having lived with it for 4 years as well, you're so wed to the story of, well, that character has to do that because they always have. So it's so good to have a fresh pair of eyes that was just like, actually it would work better for the story if that happened. And it's exciting. We're doing, the lead singer's called Max Lightning. So the band are called The Storm. And so you've got Max Lightning, who's the lead guitarist and the sort of driving force. Tommy Thunder, who's his best mate, is the lead guitarist. And Benji Blizzard on bass. And then Paul Smith, who didn't want to get involved in the name business. He's the drummer. So those are the four band members, and yeah, I think a mockumentary is a good thing to film because you can get a lot of mileage out of a. Like, I think it's going to take us about 8 days to film the whole thing, and it will probably be sort of feature film length by the end of it if we sort of stuck it all together. But obviously, you've got a lot of talking heads, so it's like, okay, if we can grab you for a day or an afternoon, which just, we can just do that. So yeah, I'll be playing Max Lightning, and so we're doing all my talking heads, next Monday, and then kind of on from there. Which it's mad. It's crazy to have put so much work into something and have nothing to show for it yet, other than a script. But once we start filming it, I think it'll feel good to sort of be like, okay, I can see it. Me and Kit, the director of photography, went to Camden on Friday, just filmed some B-roll out on the canal and sort of looking at, blocking what, kind of movement and where. It's a minefield though, man. Like, just like getting permission to film in places, even having logos or that sort of thing is a no-no. We were like, oh...
What do you mean on your clothes and stuff?
Well, clothes, but even stuff like, I think, like, was one scene, we were thinking of talking heads for Max and Tommy, the two best friends. They've got some good talking heads, and originally we were going to do that in a pub, but we thought, we might be able to get permission from these guys. And then we were looking at the canal, like Camden Canal, and it's like, the Camden Lock's so beautiful. We're like, this would be so interesting, let's do it here. Maybe they just, every week, they get tinnies and, have a few beers and chat and stuff. And so we're kind of joining them in on that. But I think even to have like beer logos, we'll have to make sure our hands sort of covering the logo. And I'm like, so yeah, probably need a producer really to sort of like someone who really knows what you definitely can and can't do. I mean, my talking heads are going to be done in my flat here, so at least there's like, we're fine with it. You know what I mean? Like, that's going to be a safe shoot. But we definitely need some help from the production side of just someone who knows what they're doing. But yeah, we're talking to a few people. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Yeah,
and what is that, a copyright thing then or something?
Yeah, I don't know. It seems to be like, because even we had one idea of like, there's a pub on the Camden Lock which is a Weatherspoon. It's called the Ice Wharf. And I used to go there all the time, and it's the location's really beautiful. And so, we've got an outside scene where they meet outside, and then the idea is they go in, and then you'd see the logo in the background. And then if we couldn't get permission from there, we'd just use another pub. And obviously, through the magic of film, it would look like we're going from one to the other. But even having the Ice Wharf logo, we might not be able to use. It just seems... I think what's strange is because of the world of, like social media and TikTok and this, that and the other, I felt it was suddenly just a free-for-all. Like, if you're out in public, you can just film whatever you want. You don't need to get anyone's permission. But and probably that is the case if it's just social media. But I guess if you wanted to do something with that footage, because the state that it's actually in at the moment is, like I said, it was originally 6 30-minute episodes. Then it went down to 6 10 to 15-minute episodes. But the way it's looking, we're like, we could probably cut this into a feature-length film and then put it into festivals next year, because I think that would be much more helpful in terms of, kind of it getting seen and then potentially getting funding for future projects. If you've got a kind of, it's been entered into this competition and that competition, it might kind of be easier that way. And I kind of just love the idea of making a full feature. I mean, I've watched Spinal Tap so many times in the last few months with commentary and everything, and just getting in on that, so interesting and so kind of helpful. The copyright thing is a tricky one, but we are going to definitely find out before we film.
But I mean, I guess is London like the perfect place to be for something like this when you got people that are up for it, type of thing?
I think that's definitely. I mean, there's so many people that come to London and I've got so many skill sets and people that. I think because sometimes it's someone who's like, I have this skill set and I do it and I earn money doing it, but it's like more just commercial stuff and it's not really what I wanted to do. Because I've always been so scared of asking anyone to do something for free, because I'm like, I don't want to. You've got this skill set, I want to be able to pay you. But it's been so interesting how much people have been up for it. But also, I think what's been really great is because the subject matter is that indie rock scene. That's been a massive draw for actors and a few people in the crew, because they're like, oh fuck yeah, I want to be involved in this, because I used to hang around in Camden, or I used to gig at the Dublin Castle, or used to be in a band around that time. And so actually I think it's worked out really well, rather than just being like, we've got a random drama, do you want to be in it, doing something specifically about that scene. that people have so many good memories about and there's so much nostalgia about, then that's really helped draw people in, I think, which has been really nice actually. So yeah, I think for me it's such a labour of love, and I'm really hoping that it will resonate with people. And yeah, I mean it's yeah, obviously Camden was a hub, it, not certainly not the only hub of the indie rock scene. I think one of the special things about it was that so many bands came out of so many different places, but Camden definitely, had a drawing point, and most bands passed through at some point. And yeah, so I think it will be a kind of fun place to film and sort of set the scene for. So yeah.
Yeah, and what about you when you were, like, say, when you were 17, 18? Where were you going out in London? Was there anywhere in Wimbledon or anything?
No, I mean it's weird, yeah, because I think I've mentioned this to you briefly before about how like I was sort of that Good Shoes era of like I think Good Shoes were Morden and Rains Park's here and Wimbledon's there. That's not to scale, but like yeah. So kind of that was quite exciting having a band that were getting big around that time and all that kind of stuff, and that was really inspiring. But yeah, was it for me? It wasn't until I moved up to Camden, I think, that I really started going out a lot more and was gigging a lot more and sort of because I was doing acoustic stuff, like kind of indie pop, indie rock acoustic stuff, and so just playing loads of yeah, kind of open mics and then random gigs. It was a place called the O Bar, which we used to really love. Um, that had an open mic every week, and then we do sort of gigs there on the weekends. And yeah, trying to think, found a way into all sorts of different places. Did like an opening gig at the Camden Crawl because yeah, the Camden Crawl came back like after a big hiatus in 2006, 2007. So I remember playing at that, and that was really cool and really exciting and kind of amazing to have like a festival come to you, which is amazing. And yeah, like just so
Yeah, we
many
went to
bands.
that in 2007. We went to Camden Crawl.
Oh really? Who
It
were,
felt, yeah.
who were the big bands that headlined that year?
Who did we see? When I think we just went one day. Did we go one day? I
Mm,
think Markham said, "Oh, my mate reminded me who we watched. I can't,
yeah.
I can't even remember now. But remember seeing Ali Love, and then
Yeah.
there's another band. What, Calvin Harris, possibly.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, because I
But I
remember
can't
like
remember.
I think the big band that I saw that weekend was Maccabees played at the Roundhouse, and
Okay.
yeah, just it was great, like absolutely nuts, really. Because it was just such a good vibe. Like everyone was there for it, like it was such a good sort of festival, and yeah, yeah, there's some good times, man, and just really good memories. And I think it's just so nice to be able to, with the mockumentary, to be able to put myself and parts of myself into that and talk about certain gigs that happen, talk about certain real venues and then real stories. And obviously, it's through the lens of a fake band, but obviously, I'm trying to pour so much of myself out, into that to try and make it as authentic and personable as possible because this was real people's lived experience. And I think the fact that I still know a lot of the venues aren't there now, but like the fact that I know that they were there because we used to gig there, or even like rehearsal studios and stuff like that we're talking about. And we touch on Denmark Street as well, which is a sort of famous guitar street in London, kind of like, well, it used to be. I mean, it used to be like Diagon Alley for like guitar shops, kind of on Tottenham Court Road. But obviously, like so much of that just kind of changed. And yeah, I mean, again, that plays into. I think one of the big things of the mockumentary is Max's sort of struggle with the way that the world has changed and the way the world has gone online, and I think he still pines for that. You know, it was great how it was. Why did it have to change, sort of thing? But the world's moved on, and he's struggled too. And so things like Denmark Street, which in the story he had a job at one of those guitar shops before the bands started getting big, and yeah, Denmark Street doesn't have many shops anymore because of going online and COVID, obviously massive. But then also just so many building works there. There was an amazing Enterprise was a really cool rehearsal studio just behind Denmark Street, and that's all been knocked down because they've decided to build a load of bigger and newer and more expensive thing. No idea what it is, offices or something. But yeah, and so I don't know. I think now seems to be a good time for some nostalgia. Really,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
No, I'd agree with that.
mm,
Um,
yeah,
but Yeah, I mean, in the pilot, obviously, is like it's a bit of a kind of don't know, bit of a whirlwind of what it's all about. But in terms of what you're filming and like the series that's going to pan out, like
Yeah.
what you're actually covering, is it like how Max's life is these days, or is it a bit of looking back, or both?
Yeah, so it's sort of like yeah, well, we'll go full spoilers, why not? It's yeah, sort of I think the first it's kind of like the first three episodes really are how the band formed, then sort of the high point of the band, how it was going. They sort of found themselves on, and this is the thing as well. I've written them into the history of indie rock really tightly, and have been really like purposeful about the dates and that sort of thing. So they were on the NME tour in 2005, I think, and talk about being there with like the Killers and the Future Heads and Kaiser Chiefs and Block Party for Franz Ferdinand. God, what a crazy, insane lineup! That like wow. And so yeah, kind of write them in with that, and then episode 3 is kind of more about how the band sort of broke up, and then ep 4 is more about what have they been doing since. So for Max, the thing is, one of their songs became the sort of theme tune for a sort of E4 style team thing, and so he's been living off royalties, which is kind of part of the problem in that I think Max just has no purpose, and so he doesn't need the money because he's got he's still got royalties coming in, and then eventually Max meets someone, meets a girl, they start dating, and she knew who the Storm were, but there was never anything online about them, and basically she starts an Instagram account for the band in Ep 5 without him knowing because he hates the internet and stuff, and then they get traction and have like 20,000 followers, and she says to him like, I've started this. He's annoyed, but then she's like, look, people clearly want the Storm, and so the Storm then kind of have a reunion gig in Ep 6, and alongside that, some of the things that are tricky are the drummer is married with 4 kids, and he's not been doing music, and he's kind of unsure whether he can do the gig, and there's a lot of blame. Essentially, Paul and Tasha are the kind of couple, the drummer and his wife. Basically, they have a one night stand during the band's high point. She gets pregnant, he leaves the band because of it, and Max has always blamed them for the demise of the band, which isn't quite true. It's a half truth, and so there's that kind of like resolution and stuff. And so, yeah, I think my hope for the documentary, really, mockumentary, sorry, is that people who love the indie rock scene are going to love it anyway. Do you know what I mean? Because it's so nostalgic and great. But my hope is that people who don't know anything about the indie rock scene will kind of get drawn into it, finish it, and go, God, I want to listen to some of these bands. But also just fall in love with the story. I think been watching a few documentaries recently. Watched Queen of Chess on Netflix. I remember getting like 2/3 of the way through, and it was like, I don't care about chess, but I'm really invested in this. Like, I really care about this woman that it's centering around, and I really want her to do well. And I guess that's what the best documentaries are able to do. Like, it kind of transcends the initial kind of draw and the initial kind of subject matter, and hopefully you get invested in the people. Yeah, I'm a bit of a softie. I love a good, sort of something that pulls on the heartstrings. So I hope it hits those beats. That's definitely the aim of it. So yeah, I think it's an interesting thing. I think it'll be fun.
Definitely. I mean, I was watching the pilot again before we spoke, and like
Oh, cool.
still laughing, still laugh out loud at some bits. It's funny, but I mean, are you happy with people watching the pilot, or would you rather people
Yeah.
weigh
Let
now in?
me send it to you so you can. Oh, you've got the link, haven't you?
Yeah,
Yeah, 100%. Because it'll give people an idea of tone and stuff. And I think it'll be fun. It's it's interesting looking at the again with the whole like legality thing. It's like I don't think I can put any footage of any other real bands on there without paying like tens of thousands of pounds. So I'm having to some of the bits in the pilot I'm having to rewrite because I'm like I don't think we can do this. But it's hard because obviously so much of documentaries rely on B-roll and that sort of thing. And to be honest, I was going to say this: like, if anyone's listening and has footage from that scene, and they don't mind it being used as B-roll, it can't be of like actual bands, but even if it's just out and about at a festival, with a crowd, that sort of thing. All that stuff kind of helps because, yeah, again, it's a God, it's such a tightrope, that whole thing. And so I'm having to rewrite some parts. And I think I'm kind of going to make a joke about Max being a bit annoyed that the interviewer is going to say like, oh, we don't have licensing, we can't show this or and stuff. And he'll be kind of a bit annoyed about. But I think it'll also be funny because I think me and the bands that we've cast are going to go and film some sort of like B-roll of the band back in the day. So we'll do a night out in Camden and film bits, and it'll be kind of like grainy footage and that sort of thing. And I'll definitely be wearing like a really unconvincing wig, so that's going to be hilarious. So, so I think that'll be funny and add to the magic. And but yeah, it's an interesting challenge, like finding ways around that. Because yeah, as you'll see in the pilot, there's a few scenes where I do sort of direct comparisons with bands or that sort of thing. And yes, I really like it. And a lot of the comedy is the fact that it cuts to that scene of the real band, but I don't think we're going to be able to do that. So yeah, it'll be an interesting challenge to find a way around it, but I think it will also be kind of fun. I think we can make it into something funny, then yeah, it will be good. Yeah.
Yeah. And people listening to this or watching this, like, is there anything? I mean, we have talked about getting people involved or trying to get like people who've been on the pod involved and stuff. Like, is there anything you'd want to appeal to people for, like in terms of help or anything like that?
I mean, yeah, because we you and I put out a couple of emails to different people, and we had one or two people get back saying they were interested, but we didn't quite have the critical mass at the moment to sort of have that. Yeah, I mean, if anyone has got connections or knows anyone in the bands or this, that, and the other, yeah, definitely like feel free to reach out to them or show them this pilot and stuff, because yeah, I think it's written in a way where we've sort of decided, look, we're going to make this thing, and if we don't get any band interviews, I'm still really proud of it. I think it's going to be a really great thing. But obviously, if we can get like band interviews involved, it will just add so much authenticity. It will definitely inform, because what my dream really is to kind of have these real bands being interviewed and then sort of go back and refilm parts based on what they say and sort of again keep writing the Storm into their history. Because I remember when the UK Office first came out, and people genuinely didn't know if it was a comedy or if it was serious, and I think that's really funny. Like, I really like that idea. And if you've got real bands being interviewed, I quite like the idea of some people thinking, oh, maybe the Storm are a real band. So yeah, definitely, like, if anyone has any kind of like contacts or that sort of thing, then like, yeah, please reach out, because it would be yeah, it'd just be really cool. And also just maybe an opportunity to just add some more like history of that scene into it with stories and that sort of thing. Yeah, I think it would just make it really authentic and really cool. So yeah.
Yeah, because there's not actually like many documentaries about it, is there? About that whole
Yeah,
thing, really. It's like bits and bobs, but nothing really.
100%. Well, I think again
Yeah.
that's partly why I chose it, because it's like it's further enough in the past now that you could. It is in the past. Do you know, as much as I still think it is 2007, it's not. And so yeah, you're right. It's like not because it's not that far in the past. Not much has been done on it, and it would be really great to have something that was like putting that on the map. And yeah, and it feels like there's a bit of a revival of that stuff. And yeah, a lot of bands have had their sort of 20-year anniversary tour of their big album and stuff. I mean, some bands have just kept going, and which is amazing, have kept doing it. But yeah, it does feel like there's a bit of appetite for that. And like, yeah, I'd definitely love to see more stuff on that. And if there's any way we can make this more authentically documentary, like in not the Storms bit, obviously that's mockumentary, but like genuinely get the journeys of these bands, then I think that would be really exciting, because the music industry is very different now. It is very different from how it was. So I think getting that, those stories of bands that started and how they got there is yeah, would be really exciting, and definitely would add so much value to the film. Yeah.
Yeah, and in terms of the songs that you've written for the band, like, um, what was the inspiration behind those? How similar were they to like your songs back in the day or anything like that?
I tried to write fairly fresh, and was quite I was quite I can point to certain parts in certain songs that go, that's like that band or that's like that band. So I do this whole thing with Banquet from Block, obviously that Banquet Block Party riff. You've got the two guitarists playing two separate things that make this really cool riff, and basically did that. And then in the mockumentary, we claim that that Block Party nicked it off us, which obviously obviously they didn't, but just kind of fun. And then there's like some cool stuff like in track one of Arctic Monkeys' debut album. In the verse, there's this really cool thing where it's like 16 beat on the drums and then no bass, and the guitarist is sort of splitting the chords between them. So I think one guy plays the first chord and then the other plays, and they're kind of pinging between them. And in We Are the Boys, I kind of do the same thing. And then I think pre-chorus of Too Hot to Handle, or get the Franz Ferdinand beat, you know, that sort of thing. So yeah, kind of really fun to sort of deep dive into that. Yeah, like been really, really kind of cool. And I think for me, like this project's like the perfect thing of like bringing together the music and like the comedy and the writing into one project, and I can kind of use that skill set and stuff. And yeah, even with like the classical background, like when I studied classical music, I had to get good at piano, or goodish at piano, and so then that there'll be a scene that breaks down where like Snackerjack Susie, which is yeah, funny, but it's just a terrible song about, you know, what it's, watch the pilot. Like there'll be a scene of him just playing out on the piano in a really classical way and that sort of thing. Yeah, it's, yeah, but the writing and the songs, yeah, it's been really fun actually. And just getting to listen to loads of bands and be like, oh yeah, it'd be good to have a song that kind of, you know, borrows from that and that sort of thing. Yeah, it's been really good. I'd quite like to write a couple more. Yeah, just to add to the band's canon, and I'm sure we'll release the album on Spotify once the film's out. You know, it'd be kind of fun. I mean, that is how it ends actually. After they've done their reunion gig, you know, you always get at the end of documentaries that, you know, black screen and then the writing that says what's happened since, and the final thing is that like the label finally agreed to release the album, because they, in the story, they got dropped before, like the album was finished and they got dropped, but it didn't get released. So that finally gets released. So it would be kind of funny to put some tracks out on Spotify. Yeah. So the writing process has been, yeah, really fun actually.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the boys, I could actually imagine that kind of coming out back in the day, doing all right.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
that
hundred
certain type of
percent.
bands, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. It was, yeah. We Had a Boys is a really funny one. I mean, that whole, because they're, yeah, the band's sort of motto is "We are the boys," and so they often, when they see each other, be like, "We are the boys, we are the boys," and and but the story of that is like my mate Tom, who actually, I was chatting to this morning actually, when he was growing up, him and my friend Joel, they went to school together, and they went to a theme park, and I think they were like 8 or 9, and they saw these group of like young teenage lads, but obviously when they're 8 or 9, they think, oh, they're like these really cool guys, and these lads were running around the theme park going, "We're the boys, we're the boys," and it always just like proper cracked me up. I don't even know why, but it's just so funny. And so that, yeah, when that became the band motto, I was like, right, I've got to yeah, write a song about, you know, we're the boys and sort of being the kings of Camden and feeling like, because I think that's the thing, isn't it? Like, and definitely that how I felt when I was living in Camden at 18. Like, you think you own the place, you know, you think, because you know, you think you're on top of the world. Like, I think growing up, you think there's children and then there's adults, and like obviously, like now I'm in my late 30s, I'm like, well, yeah, an 18-year-old is technically an adult, but they're not, you know, they're worlds away from like someone who's even 25. But when you're 18, you think, oh, I'm an adult like everyone else, and you're sort of strutting around Camden and like, yeah. And so it's kind of capturing that. But there's also something quite beautiful about it, you know, that freedom, that possibility that anything can happen, I think is really lovely. And obviously we all get a bit jaded and lose that a little bit over the years. But I think it, again, hopefully the nostalgia of the film captures that lust for life and dreaming and that idea that anything can happen. And so, yeah, trying to like bottle that up in the songs and stuff. And I think music's obviously just such a powerful thing, isn't it? It's such a powerful tool. And yeah, I think it's a nice add-on to have, obviously, as part of the mockumentary, kind of writing the songs and yeah, doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then like you mentioned The Office, just because when I was watching the pilot back, it felt
Yeah.
like there's some interesting lines that would be considered problematic if you like. But is it kind of like like The Office? Is it kind of poking fun at some more like outdated kind of
Yeah, I
views, if you like? I don't
I
know.
actually watched The Office again probably like mid-January, and I realised there was like 4 or 5 jokes that I'd completely lifted. I mean, slightly different context, but like same, you know. And I was like, God, I've got to take that out. Like because with The Office, isn't it? It's like just a little turn of phrase or a little look to the camera with it that I was like, hey, you need to change it from that. But yeah, I think it's a tough one to balance, isn't it? Like I've definitely softened the script in some aspects. It's just because you're right. It's weird, isn't it? Like we live in 2026, but they're from 2007. I mean, they're looking back, but Max is certainly very stuck in there. And I think even with my stand-up comedy, I always try and make sure that like I'm the butt of the joke. Like my stand-up, I play a character called Tawny Owl, and I actually remember someone saying to me after a gig, they were like, "Oh, I love that. You're just like David Brent, aren't you?" And I was like, "What?" Like, I was pretty offended, but then I was like, "Oh no, she's right. It's like with David Brent, he thinks he's in on the joke." But he is the joke, and he doesn't realise it, and it's you know, that's why it's funny, and I think that's what I do with my stand-up. And then again with Max Lightning, you know, I've tried to make it that most characters in the mockumentary are kind of do feel very real, and they're very realistic, and you know, Max is kind of the slightly more odd one, like say stuck back in there, maybe not quite saying the right thing. It's hard, yeah. It's really hard with comedy because you've got to be really careful that even if you say something, you know, that's like you say, like an outdated view, even if it's obviously a joke and obviously it's about this character who's clearly in the wrong, and as a filmmaker, that's obvious. People are just fucking dumb, you know. Like people will take that the wrong way, and then it'll blow up as a thing. And it's really trying to kind of avoid that, you know, in a way, while also leaning into that a little bit. But it's a really hard balance to act. But no, I think I mean, yeah, I've changed the script a bit over the last couple of months and tightened that, and just being super aware of that. But yeah, I think it's just kind of funny sometimes, like, yeah.
Because I mean, it was a thing. I mean, like, probably was, you know, a thing 20 years ago where people were maybe a bit more misogynistic or whatever term you want to use. So I mean, it's definitely got its place in like something like this, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think the thing that the thing that makes me most uncomfortable is the song Snackerjack Susie, because it's basically just about women's breasts, but it's the thing that's funny about it is it's genuinely some of the best lyrics I've ever written. Like it's so poetic. The flow of it is like really good, you know, from like a structural, it flows really well. Like the imagery, like it's really good. But obviously, but I think that's what's funny is it's so ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? That it's sort of people get that. Of course, it's not serious, and it's the sort of thing that a deluded 18-year-old might do, and not realise how ridiculous that is. You know. Yeah, that's the one that has always made me go, oh God, I can't believe I wrote that, because that is mad, but it is quite funny. So yeah, I think it's a really tricky balance in a good way. It should be a tricky comedy should be a tricky balance, because it's thankfully the world has moved on since the early 2000s, and sort of even worse before. So yeah, I think it's trying to be soft with that and play into it a little bit while making sure things. Yeah, because the reality is, I don't want anyone to be upset. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want anyone to watch it and genuinely be upset. I mean, I think we slag off the Kaiser Chiefs a bit. I wouldn't mind them being upset. That'd be funny, I think. But they're big enough. That's still punching up. They're fine. Do you know what I mean?
That's different, isn't it? Yeah.
They're never gonna, they've got enough money for therapy if it really hurts them. They're fine. But I'd never want to punch down. You know what I mean? Punch down in the way. I want people to feel uplifted by it. I want people to feel inspired and laugh. People do say stupid things though in real life still, don't they? And they think and that's amazing. That's really funny, because you're like, that. I can't believe I've just said that. Or they think they're being, like PC, but really they've completely missed it. And I think sometimes that's really funny, because you're kind of again, you're still laughing at them. So I think my hope is that any sort of controversial stuff, you are really laughing at Max Lightning and how outdated he is. Do you know what I mean? But he's so unaware of it, like he doesn't realise that. And I think the thing is, I think Max Lightning is deep down, like he is sensitive and he is a sweet guy, but he's a knob, like and same with David Brent. Do you know what I mean? Like David Brent, like he's a knob, but you kind of he's almost a little bit vulnerable, isn't he? Because he's just so desperate for approval and attention that he'll do anything. And he's got that friend Chris Finch who's just do you know what I mean? Kind of half bullies him, but he just he wants to please him and stuff. And so I think there's a bit of that in there. Yeah, so no, I think hopefully we'll see. But no, I think it'll be good. Yeah, yeah, and I think also it'll be interesting. Hopefully, more comedy coming out of as we film, kind of slightly improvising scenes and stuff. Like I know it's a huge part of this is Spinal Tap. Growing out of that kind of improv stuff. Even this morning, I was rehearsing lines and kind of extending stuff from ideas and stuff, and that's so I think a lot of it will be hopefully in rehearsal rather than just on the day trying to piece it together. But I think the more I get into this character, I think, well, okay, how would he think now? How would he justify that? And yeah, I'm hoping that kind of improvisational element of things will kind of help the script grow and that sort of thing.
Yeah, because that technique, and like, what is it like Curb Your Enthusiasm, where there'll be like an end goal, but they don't massively stick to a script or something.
Yeah, I mean it's wild. Yeah, because I've never done like full on improv, which scares the shit out of me. I don't know how people do it but you're right. I mean, it's Curb Your Enthusiasm's like crazy. Yeah, I mean, because I am quite a I'm not a control freak, but obviously I've written a script, so I'm passionate about that, and I've slaved over every word. But trying to find space and realizing that I think some projects you'd go, no, improvisation isn't really right for this project, but I do think this sort of thing is. So I think as long as we cover the script, but then also are open to ideas and I think the cast are really cool, and it'd be nice to get their flavour and do you know what I mean? So it's not just my voice and style of comedy, but they've got a bit of room hopefully to bring what they bring to the table. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I do want to talk a bit more about you've got a career in music, which not many people have. So I mean,
Mm.
how does that come to be, and like how I don't know how proficient you have to get in terms of music to get where you are.
Yeah. I mean, I went full time with music at like 22 and was to just do like, some guitar teaching, weddings, any kind of gigs I could get. And just didn't go very well. Like for a year, I just didn't get much work at all. And then decided, okay, well, I'm going to go to university. I hadn't been to uni. So at 24, I went to uni, studied classical music, which was very different to anything I'd done before. But I loved it. Like, I absolutely loved it. And I had a much better attitude. Like, when I was 18, I thought I knew everything about music. I was like, why would I go to uni? What could that teach me? Then life kicks the shit out of you. You grow up and you realise, no, obviously I don't. And so I had a really great few years of just really, like, knuckling down. They had a jazz degree at the uni. And so I sat in on jazz theory and harmony for 3 years on that, which was, like, incredible. And so, kind of came out with this skill set. And met up with a school friend he's a film composer, Ian Arbour, and he was just he'd been doing a lot of indie films and was just starting to get somewhere. And he said to me, "Oh, if you've got the classical background, why don't you do film orchestration?" And I was like, "I don't know what that is." And essentially, it's that film composers will create their demo, on Logic or whatever, and they'll use MIDI sounds to kind of build up a demo that, it sounds like violin and sounds like trumpet or whatever, but obviously it's not a real, it's just all kind of computer generated, but it's enough to give a director a good kind of good idea. And a lot of low budget TV doesn't have any live instruments. They'll just use the sort of MIDI instruments because they do sound pretty good. But if you've got budget for an orchestra or strings or whatever, that essentially my job is that they'll give me that demo and I'll turn that into sheet music, and depending on how well the composer knows the orchestra, I'll have more or less input and say, okay, well let's change that around because it will work better with those instruments and stuff. And then you record it, and I even conduct if we record in London, which is rare, but I mean so scary but amazing. And so I've been steadily over the last like 10 years been doing more and more film music, kind of film and TV and stuff. which is good. It's fucking hard, man. Like being a freelancer, like, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. Like it's so hard. And so alongside the film orchestration, like, you know, for years still did some like guitar teaching and bass and also, you know, wedding gigs. I mean, I like wedding gigs actually, because I've never been in a band permanently. I think if you're doing it every week, like, you know, you hate it. But I was always a dep and would just come in here and there, and it was just nice because it was an extra couple £100 that you weren't expecting, and you get to hang out with friends and that sort of thing. But yeah, and then do a bit of like writing. A couple of my friends run these huge YouTube channels, and they get me to write comedy songs for their sponsored ads, just to try and keep the audience watching their sponsored ads, which is insanely fun and ridiculous, and every one is a different style of music. But yeah, I mean, I'm just about making it work, but I think I'd rather be just about making it work at doing what I love, you know, than getting loads of money for a job I wasn't passionate about. So it's a lot of sacrifice, but yeah, it's sort of starting to just about pay off now, which is really nice. And just done some really cool projects, but yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard. I kind of, yeah, and like as for like original music, I kind of gave up on that really, just because it just feels like the bottom fell out with streaming. Like economically, it doesn't really kind of work that well. But I still write a lot. I mean, the thing is, I write and record songs as and when I write them, and then if I like the record, you know, if I write the recording if I like the recording, I'll just send it to a few friends, and then I'm kind of happy. Like I don't need to put it out there because I'm like,
I
well, no
know
one's
what I
going to
mean.
do
Like
it anyway.
I do a
You know?
similar thing. Like I've just got like a stacked SoundCloud with like random stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's just not, because for me the success is just in finishing writing the song and then having a recording that I like, and then if I show it to a few friends and they're, oh yeah, I like this, then I'm like, oh yeah, cool. But I don't know, maybe you know, maybe one day. It's just also it's hard to like get friends together into a rehearsal room, and a band rehearsal might cost £50 in London, you know, for a 3 hour session. And you're like, God, if we want to do a gig and have 3 rehearsals, £150 down before we even walked into the pub. It's just like, yeah, it's wild. But then, you know, like I said, doing stand-up comedy, like I bring musical elements into that, which is fun. Like doing this mockumentary is so much fun to like write in the style of a, you know, mid-2000s band is great. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. I feel like I'm enjoying it a lot. And in the show, you know, the band do a reunion gig, so we'll be getting together to do that, which will be amazing. And definitely, if there's anyone out there that wants to come to that, we'll definitely be wanting to pack out. Hoping we can get the Dublin Castle in Camden, because it's such an iconic venue, and it's kind of big enough but not too big to try and fill. So that'll be the most challenging day like of filming. Like I said, like most of it's sort of talking heads or like a scene with 2 characters. So that's like fairly easy. Whereas that's going to be like incredibly fun but also incredibly intense, like making sure we've got everything and stuff. But yeah, so it'll be fun. And yeah, I still, in a weird way, maybe a little bit like Max Lightning, I still feel like I'm trying to work out how to make money from music and how it's changed. You know, it's like I felt that the next generation after us have a much better idea because they kind of grew up with that as what that. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of what it was. Yeah.
No, yeah, it's different. Isn't it? I feel like the game's gone a bit. It's a different game.
Yeah.
But yeah, the stand-up's interesting. Is it one of those things like, do you learn a lot from each gig type thing, each stand-up gig?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's the hardest art form I've ever done. Really, it's because the nice thing about music is if you're doing a gig and only 4 people show up, which happened a lot back in the day, you can still enjoy playing. You know, you can still enjoy playing that, and it's sort of you can still put a really good performance in, you know, and get a lot out of that, and you're enjoying playing with your friends and stuff. Stand-up's like a very two-way thing. Like it's quite hard to enjoy a gig if no one else is. Do you know what I mean? Like, and also I'm used to always having a guitar, you know, in front of me as a kind of almost barrier, covers the silence, and it's, I don't know, there's something physical about, it's not just me, you know, there's a guitar, even if it's just me and not a band. But yeah, you stand up on stage with stand-up and you're like, oh my God, it's me and a microphone. And that's it. And I'm going to say things and then leave silence in the hope that people will laugh. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And there's no gig, there's no joke in the world that will land 10 out of 10 times. There's no joke that every gig, you know, and gigged a lot. Like I did 300 gigs in the first 3 years because when you haven't got a band, you can just gig as much as you want, and that freedom was really lovely. But you miss the band element of the being part of something bigger, the camaraderie, the sort of fuck you, it's us against the world. If you have a bad band gig, you've still got your mates with you and you're kind of protected, and that's really special. If you have a bad stand-up gig and then you're driving home for an hour just by yourself, going, "Oh shit, that was like, that was bad." But the magic and the high of like people, really getting it, and also because my stand-up's like a little bit alternative, a little bit weird. It's not, Michael McIntyre. Like not everyone's gonna like it. So when you find an audience, or even sometimes it's just a few people in an audience. Like I did Edinburgh Fringe in 2023. I did a split bill with someone else, and so I was on stage for like 30 minutes every night. The best thing was like quite a few times you just find out one or two people who just they got it. My weird type of humor was their weird type of humor, and you could see them like losing their shit. You know what I mean? Like even after the joke's finished and I'm saying the next joke, they're still laughing, and I'm like, oh, that's so special and that's so magic, and you're just sort of conjuring this stuff out of nothing. So yeah, it is amazing, but it's really scary, like really scary. Like I've kind of gotten used to it now, but yeah, really, really tricky, hard to get right. And because also I think when you tell a joke, especially if it's a new joke, and let's say you say the joke, no one laughs, and then you're like, okay, there's quite a few reasons why that might not have worked. It might be the joke might just be rubbish, right? So just lose it. It might be, and probably, that the joke needs a bit of tweaking. Maybe it's how you deliver it. Maybe it's cutting it down. Maybe it's the audience. They're just not your audience. So even it might be a good joke, but they're just not into your type of humor, and that's no one's fault. That's absolutely fine. And there's so many other things in like gigs where like I've never thought about lighting before, but lighting in comedy is so huge. Like if the lighting's like I'm here, and the audience can feel like, oh, everyone can see you, they get a bit like, oh, I don't want to laugh too much, especially if someone's got a bit more dark humor and stuff. I mean, mine's not particularly dark, but like they feel seen, and so it's harder for them to kind of relax. A bit like the reason why clubs are so dark is because people don't want to be seen to be dancing. You know what I mean? Like it's easy to dance if you think you're in the dark, rather than if it's like big spotlights. And comedy's the same. And so there's so many reasons why jokes do or don't work, but that's kind of part of the magic, I think. And I think also stand-up gets easier as you get bigger because you attract your audience, and so then at least like half the audience already know you and then think, like what you do. But yeah, I do love it. But logically, I don't know why anyone would do stand-up. It's a terrible idea. Logically, just terrible. So yeah, I'm glad that I'm making a film where I can't see the audience and their reactions. I can just sort of put it out there. I think it's good, and hopefully other people kind of will enjoy it as well. Yeah.
So where was your first gig then? That's always interesting, isn't it? Where was your
Yeah,
first stand-up?
there's a lot of like comedy courses, and a lot of my friends and stuff went on comedy courses. I didn't know there were comedy courses, and I'd thought about doing stand up for a long time, and then one day I was on a road trip with my friend Tom. In fact, it's the same guy from the We Are the Boys story actually, and just halfway through the journey, he just turned to me and was like, "Have you ever thought about doing stand up? Because you should." And I was like, "Yeah, I have thought about it, but I've just never done it." And literally a week later, I went to an open mic in a place called Bar Rumba in Piccadilly. And it was a really like, yeah, I mean, it wasn't a great gig in terms of like the actual, I wouldn't go, I only went there once, didn't go back, bit incelly. And leading up to the gig, I was like, right, I've prepared you just do 5 minutes. I've prepared it really well. I filmed myself doing it a bunch of times, make sure I'm really well prepped. And I treated it like a gig, right? I was like, well, I've been on stage loads of times, so, it'll be fine. As soon as the lights went down for the start of the show, I was like, what are you doing? Like, fight or flight, like, get out of here. Like, this is insane. And yeah, and then I went on stage, and I think I did 3.5 minutes because I did it so fast and I forgot one or two bits. But in my head, I thought if I get one laugh, that's something to build on. That's not that bad.
Definitely, yeah.
But I actually, like, the two guys that were running the night were really laughing, and I thought, oh, if you're laughing, then I must be onto something, because you obviously see lots of people. And it was a really like bold. You look back on it, like it was a really bold set. It was like, because my big comedy hero is Tim Key, who does a lot of comedy poems, and so I did like 3 comedy poems, and it was kind of mad. But it worked. I think you're so fragile at the start. You need the first few gigs to be go quite well, at least. And a lot of open mics obviously are quite supportive of that. So that gig went well. And then the nice thing about comedy is it's a really good community of people. So you meet someone else on a gig and they say, oh, have you done that gig? If you apply for that, you can do that. And then before you know it, you're gigging, 2 or 3 times a week and meeting lots of different people. So socially, it's really good because, like, God, you get into your 30s, it's like, how do I meet new people? It's like, it's so nice to have that sort of thing. And you meet, obviously, some really interesting people. Obviously, a lot of knobheads as well. But generally, like, people are just really, I think to have the guts to stand up and do that, you've got to be a bit unhinged or have some sort of life story. And so, yeah, I've made some really great friends out of the comedy. And like I said, it's really helped. I think originally done the writing and made my comedy, good. But then I think now having done stand-up comedy, it's meant my writing's sharper as well. And there's 1 or 2 bits actually in the script that I've done as like off-the-cuff jokes and stuff. I thought, actually, I could put that in, and I know it will be good because it's already been tested on an audience. So that's quite nice to, have that kind of sort of two-way thing and feeding each other and sort of helping me get better as a kind of comedian and writer. Yeah.
So where are you at with the stand-up comedy then? Like,
I did a tour in 2024. I did 21 dates, and it killed me, man. It was amazing, but I pretty much burnt out from it. So I didn't do much comedy last year, and I'm now editing the stand-up show. So I filmed the London show and editing that. So the aim is to put that out hopefully next month, just as a YouTube sort of thing, and then start doing sort of like online content. Because it's fascinating again, like with the way music's changed. I mean, comedy similarly. Comedy was very much like getting signed. You get your agent, and if you've got an agent, then great, they'll get you on telly and this, that, and the other. Now I know people that have started at the same time as me, like 4 years ago, and they're selling out tours because they do loads of online content. They've got 100,000 followers. They don't need an agent. They've got their audience. Their audience already know who they are because they're doing the reels every week and stuff. And I think no stand-up comedian really likes doing reels, but it's a great way of building an audience. So I think for the next year, I'm going to try and do a bit more content online. And I think finding something that you genuinely like and doesn't take ages to do is quite hard to find a combo. But I've got some ideas that I'm quite happy with. So hopefully you can use that to point people towards the hour-long show. And then, focusing on the mockumentary as well this year. So, it's nice to kind of have all these things going, but it's difficult to know what to prioritise. But this year, the mockumentary is the main priority. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have like social media for the comedy? Like, how do people
Yeah,
follow it?
yeah. So, Tawny Owl Comedy,
Okay.
TAWNY Owl, Tawny Owl Comedy.
Just look forward to having a look at that.
Yeah, definitely. There's some clips on there, man. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to getting the hour show because my stuff's kind of weird. Some comedians, they're perfect for that 30-second clip thing, but for me, the hour-long show is like, I'm really proud of that as a narrative and as a piece of art. So it'd be nice to be able to put that out there and people can properly see it rather than just sort of seeing a little clip and that sort of thing. So yeah, I'm excited for that.
Yes, I was listening to something recently where might have been Ramesh Ranganathan's podcast where he said a lot of comedians put crowd work videos on Instagram, which he says is like, I don't know, it makes it hard for the comedians because people expect now loads of crowd work or something. I don't know.
100%. It's really interesting because the reason the comedians do that is because we always talk about burning our material, and it's like obviously you only write a certain amount of material.
Yeah.
If you want to post out every week, you're going to run out of material because if you do 10 videos and they're all a minute long, that's 10 minutes of material. But crowd work's great because every night's different, right? So you can just put as much as you want up, and that's really easy. But yeah, it's really funny because then people come to your show and they expect there's going to be a load of crowd work, or people come to any show and expect there's going to be crowd work, and it's funny, isn't it? Because a crowd work thing for the audience, it's like, oh, the show's about me. Whereas like for me, I'm like, no, the show's about me. Like the show's about what I've written, which is like really selfish. But it's kind of like, it'd be like going to a music gig and I don't know, like a musician be like, oh, what's your name? And like trying to do a few like tunes about like, Hayley from Reading or something and her job as an office manager. Like, I don't know, I kind of want to go and see the artist. But also I think there's different types of comedy. Like club comedy is very much like Friday night crowd work, this, that, and the other. My stuff is a lot more probably wanky, to be honest, but like I'm trying to create like a piece of art, and so it's less conducive to like the crowd work thing. But crowd work's really helpful for like loosening up an audience and stuff, and especially if someone's emceeing a night, which I do a bit as well. Obviously, you want to have it a bit more loose. But yes, but it's hard. I mean, I've definitely seen comedians live who do a lot of the crowd work stuff and been a bit like, oh right, your whole show's not crowd work, but you're expecting there to be more, and so it's the danger is that yeah, you get your fans, but they're expecting one thing, and then your actual show is something different if all you're posting is crowd work stuff. But yeah, but in this sort of algorithm game where you want to be posting as much as possible, like I do get why people do the crowd work stuff. Um, but yeah, it's also funny with crowd work because obviously as a comedian, I've been to lots of gigs. There's only about 5 responses to all of them. Like they all kind of end the same anyway. It's not like there's only so many answers that someone can give. So the crowd work stuff, yeah, can get a bit old as well after a while.
No, yeah, fair. All right, mate. Well, yeah, good to chat. And
Yeah.
if we didn't cover it already, like, what is the idea once you've filmed the mockumentary? Like,
Yeah, so
what's the plan?
so I think I'd like to, depending on how it goes, like cut it into a feature film and then put it into festivals next year. Um, yeah, I mean, because I think the funny thing originally, what someone suggested to me was make this, or maybe it's just my idea, like make it a 10-15 minute like YouTube 6 episodes thing as a proof of concept, and then maybe a production company will get on board, and then you can do your 6 half-an-hour episodes thing. But a friend of mine who's a producer was like, look, if you can do it the way you want it and you can make the art you want, just do that, because a production company will change so much. Obviously there'll be so many just too many cooks sort of situation, and they'll hold it up and there'll be so many rewrites. And so I've kind of shied away from that, and I think the idea of presenting it as a feature will be really cool. And obviously, like as soon as it's finished, we'll do a big like cast and crew kind of premiere and stuff, and anyone that kind of wants to come along really. But yeah, I think this sort of festival circuit will be a good way forward. I mean, to be honest, I've got a storyline for like a season 2 second film, but we'll see. We'll see if it's still got legs after that. But yeah, I think cutting it into a film would be nice. I think Spinal Tap inspired me a little bit as well, because I think Spinal Tap's only like 1 hour 15, 1 hour 20, so it's like it's doable. I mean, it's still a big thing to do, but it is doable. And then yeah, I mean, I've got no idea how to make money out of this stuff. Like, I'm just create art and hope for the best, really. But yeah, I think as long as if I can make it not lose too much money, uh, yeah. But then just try and put it out, and then because I've got so many other projects that I want to do, I think for me a real success will be make something that I'm proud of and try and get enough. It's seen enough that in future we can sort of get some funding to do stuff, because there's a feature film that I wrote last year, sorry, that again quite small scale, that I think would be really fun to do, and if we could get some funding then we could do it. So yeah, hopefully it can lead to that, and then I just would love it to be seen, really. Yeah.
Yeah, and in terms of writing, like, how do you get good at that? Or where do you
Yeah,
lift techniques from places or what?
I think just for me, I tried to write as much as possible was the big thing, and I just found I got better and better each time. But there was a couple of online courses that I did that were genuinely amazing. God, what it was like this woman Pilar Alessandra, who's based in LA. She's had this book called, like, if anyone's looking to write, seriously buy this book. It's called like the coffee break screenwriter or something. I'll find it and I'll send you a link. And it's just literally like 2 or 3 page chapters, which is like perfect for me because I'm shit at reading. And it was just like, oh, how to do this, how to do that. And by the end of the book, I was like, oh yeah, I think I could do this actually. And that was really exciting. But I think, yeah, I probably wrote like 5 or 6 pilots, 30-episode pilots, and 2 of those were full series, because I was just like, if I've got the idea, I'm going to do it, and I know that if I write more, I will just get better at doing it. And it seems I think it's the same for a lot of art, really. Like, as long as it's just a bit better than the last time, then you just keep doing it, and you'll get a lot better and stuff. Yeah, and I think so. Yeah, I think for me, writing was, yeah, definitely just about doing it more and more and more. and just loving it for what it is. Because the reality is, well, obviously we're making this mockumentary, but back then I was like, none of this is ever going to get made. So if you're not enjoying the process and you're not enjoying discovering the story and what happens and stuff, yeah, it's probably not. It's not going to be that fun. So just trying to enjoy that process, really. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Okay, yes, mate. Well, obviously direct people to the pilot and stuff, but
yeah,
where
yeah.
can people keep an eye on this stuff, really?
Yeah, I think my Instagram page, like the Tawny Owl comedy page, I'll be keeping. That's where I'm most active. I'll keep people updated on that. And yeah, I mean, just feel free to get in touch and stuff. Like we said about ways people can help. Like, yeah, like always keen to hear people's thoughts and if there's any ideas and things and or even things that they're like, you've got to get this element of the scene into it somehow, which I may already have. But like, yeah, it'd be kind of cool to hear that. And yeah, yeah, but definitely, like, it'd be really nice to have people along for the journey because I think it's going to be really special, and I think people are going to hopefully really enjoy it, and it'll be a good nod back to, yeah, good times. Yeah,
All right, nice one, mate.
awesome,
Yes.
man. Thanks so
Well,
much, mate. Yeah, good to chat.
yeah, well, let's stay in touch.
Definitely.
Um, obviously, yeah, we've tried, haven't we, a little bit? I mean, this is off the record now, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, got like Gemma and Dave up for it, aren't they?
yeah, yeah,
Just like, yeah, I don't know really. I think maybe once you've, it's what's that thing that once you've maybe, I don't know, once you've done the filming, maybe that's when people have the confidence to get on board. I don't know.
yeah, yeah. I mean, maybe as well. Once you've recorded a certain amount, we might be able to cut a really nice, like, minute and a half trailer,
Yeah,
which may be
yeah,
a bit more palatable. Obviously, it will look much better because it's properly filmed. Maybe that'll be, yeah, maybe that'll be easier. Because yeah, it would be. I mean, like I said, I'm really happy with what it is, and if we can't do it, that's fine. We can't do it, but yeah, it would obviously be incredible. Just and like we said, like there's not been loads on it. Like so, I
nah,
want to hear these stories. Do you know what I mean? Like I want to hear these bands. It's just it's so interesting. Like I don't know, any band documentary is fascinating. I watched a Nickelback documentary on last weekend. It's just on Netflix, and it's just really interesting. Do you know what I mean? And them talking about being the most hated band in the world and stuff, but still selling out arenas and all that sort of thing. It's just fascinating. And there's so many bands, you know, in the indie scene where it's like, yeah, man, I want to hear. And it's been so obviously the podcast is so great for it. Just hearing that, yeah, how they've got, but yeah, it could be really fun to sort of see it visually and see it kind of come together and stuff. Um, could really open up some stuff and could be really good for comedy wise as well if we're able to sort of bounce off, you know, what's going on with the mockumentary with the sort of documentary element of it. Yeah, so yeah, I think yeah we'll start filming and see what happens really. Yeah,
no, definitely, yeah, yeah. Let's stay in
yeah,
touch, mate.
awesome, man.
And I'll yeah, put it on Patreon, but I'll also put it out on the main channels at some point.
Cool. Yeah, 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 definitely.
So, yeah, hopefully, get people interested in that.
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, that'd be really great. Yeah,
All right,
sick. Thanks so much, man. Really appreciate it.
no worries. Yeah,
Awesome.
good luck with filming.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, I'll keep you updated. I'll send you like rushes and little bits and stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm going to be
please.
editing as we go along. So I think it'll be really, yeah, really exciting. So yeah, I'll definitely keep you updated with that. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Sounds ace, mate. All right, nice
perfect.
one.
Thanks, man.
All
Have a
right,
good
cheers,
evening.
Andy. Speak to you in a
Cheers,
bit.
mate.